Greetings, Pilgrims, to episode 28 of the Polygon Pilgrimage. Today we're going to be going over group unwrap technique, and our sample here is going to be the molding from the house project. And I'll show you here we have the nice high detailed high poly pass here, and this is all done. So what we want to do now is from here we want to take all of these objects, the low poly, and we want to unwrap them all together on one sheet. Now I know what you're going to say, newer versions of Max allow you to do this automatically, and that's true. As you may have noticed here, I'm working off of Max version 9, which does not have this functionality. So if you have a version of Max that doesn't have this, or you have another piece of software that doesn't allow you to do this, natively I mean, here is a technique. It's always good to have a secondary way of doing this, or if you have an application that doesn't support a way to do it the way newer versions do. So that's what I'm going to be covering today. Alright, so here what we have is the high poly objects. So what I'm going to do is select the high polys, and we're going to Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and hide all the high poly objects. There, say goodbye to them for now. And I'm going to unhide the low polys. But what we can do here is I have an object that I've already created for you that is all of the low polys combined. Now the concept here is I have all of my low poly objects here, and I want to unwrap them, but you don't want to do them one at a time. You want to do them all on one sheet. They all should share a texture space, especially something like this. This is a piece of molding where the pattern is going to be repeating, so it's best to have them all together on a sheet, close together. You can just one time across the pattern, and it repeats and repeats seamlessly. Well, to do that, we should combine all of these into one object. So you just select the object, and you go over to attach, and you can click the attach button and click each one at a time, but some of these are kind of small or you're not quite sure. What you can also do is do the attach by name or by list, and here you can select them all. So I've done that, and I have an object here called all. If I unhide by name, all, unhide. So I select that, and I'm going to isolate that for now. So you can see they already have a nice unwrapping texture applied to them. And if I do a render real quick, you'll see nicely spaced out. Everything's all set. And what we're going to do is now with this one object, we're going to go ahead and unwrap it. So if I pull up my unwrap sheet, you see here, I'm planning on using a 2x1 texture space. Everything's been unwrapped and aligned to each other. So now I can paint my texture completely across, and it will seamlessly repeat. Once you have this complete, what you're going to want to do is collapse the unwrap. And now this is the magic button here. If you don't know about this, you should. Right here, under Edit Geometry, click this checkbox, Preserve UVs. That is the magic right there, because once we have that checked, any alterations we make to this model, it's going to keep that once we make those alterations. And you're thinking, okay, well, so what? I can, move a couple of points. But no, the trick is, once you have that checked, I can now break the model apart and it will keep the unwrap. So we're going to go ahead and go through that example here. Alright, so here's our working example. So I have my model here that is one piece, and I want to separate it back out into individual pieces, but with this checkbox here for the Preserve UVs, I'm going to keep the unwrapping that I've worked so hard on. And this is a practical example for you guys, because this is something I need to do right here and now for the project. So I'm going to select each piece one at a time, like that. Those are all the polys that are contained within that piece. And I'm going to hit the detach button right here. And I'm just going to call this 1 because I'm going to number them and go back and do them that way. But you can call them whatever. If you know the name of the object right off the top of your head, you can do it in there. But I'm going to click just 1 and say OK. Now because I have the checkbox selected for the Preserve UVs, if I drop out of this and go to Select and select 1, and I go and unwrap model number 1, you'll see it's kept the UVs. This is the important part, is now I can separate every single object and it will keep the unwrapping, yet it's still in the same place it needs to be on the sheet to pick up the texture that is designed to work with all the parts all at once. This is really important for if you're reusing textures. A lot of mobile games sometimes use 1 or 2 or 3 textures and that's it. So everything has to be on one sheet. And depending upon the software you're using, if you don't have the ability to select 5 objects and say, these are all going to share a texture sheet. Let's go ahead and just unwrap them all together. Then this is a must-have feature. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. So I'm going to go through each one of these one at a time. I won't make you sit through that, but I'm going to just select them all and say detach, name it number 2, and keep going. Now I will show you the important part is once I'm all finished, you'll notice that some of these objects, like object number 1, it has not retained its proper pivot. The pivot is way over here now. So what I'm going to have to do when I'm all done is select my all object and say hide and unhide by name. I'm going to unhide my low polys. And I happen to know I've named these nicely that the top low polys are here. Top, top, and top, unhide. There we go. So they're overlapping one another, and I can select this guy here. You see his pivot is down there. It's on the floor because this is a ceiling piece of geometry. So I have the pivot here. So if I just select number 1 and go into Effect Pivot Only, and I'm going to select the Align button, and then click right back on top of that. You can't see it here, but the name does continue, and it says object number 1, and I want to align the pivot in all ways, and just say OK, and there we go. So now if I select either 1 or the top straight LP, both of their pivots are at the same spot. Now eventually what I'm going to do is take the name off of my original object, delete the original object, go to 1 and rename it that, and now I have the best of both worlds. The object with its proper pivot, and it's been unwrapped to work with the sheet. So just lather, rinse, repeat for all the parts in your mesh, and what you end up with is all of your parts properly unwrapped, and they work together as a single texture sheet, and you're ready to move forward. So guys, go ahead and use this technique if you need to. If you have an older version of Max like I have here, or if you have a piece of software that doesn't support all the new bells and whistles, you know, I'm a big proponent of do more with less, and this is definitely a way to get that done. So keep practicing, you guys. You're doing well. Keep getting better. Enjoy this. If you need this in a project, you can surprise some people that you know another way around. And as always, enjoy the quote at the bottom of the page. And I will see you guys next time as the pilgrimage continues.